Hi, I'm Wade from Thoroughbred Diesel. This is Montana Cherry with SunCoast Converters, and today we're going to be talking to you about 68 RFE transmissions. So here at Thoroughbred Diesel, the 68 RFE is actually the most talked about transmission that we deal with, the most phone calls that we field, and as far as a drop-in transmission goes, it is our #1 seller. The SunCoast line of 68 RFE transmission are our #1 seller as well. And Montana is a really good one with this because, his passion right now is in the newer transmissions and the 10Rs, but the 68 is something that he was right in the trenches with. So what we wanted to do today is we wanted to kind of introduce you to and walk you through all of the products that SunCoast offers for you 68 RFE guys. We're going to talk about some common failure points, what they've done to correct those inside the products, and we're just going to really talk about the whole product lineup that they offer. So Montana Cherry is the technical advisor for SunCoast Converters as well as on their R&D team. The R&D team at SunCoast is kind of like the, it's kind of like the A team of stuff. Ernie does a good job.
Basically,
yeah.
I get paid to break stuff and find out why it broke and how we can fix it from breaking again.
I said Ernie does a good job of that. He's going to love that. Ron, actually.
Yeah.
So it's Ron and Montana on a lot of the R&D side of it. So, all right, we'll start with the 68 RFE lineup that you all do for transmissions. That was one of the first things you and I were talking about. So as far as drop-in transmissions go from SunCoast, you have two really basic lineups that they're broken into. They're called the Guardian Series and the Category Series, like Cat 1, Cat 2. So I'm going to let Montana talk to you a little bit about the differences between the Guardian and the Category Series from SunCoast.
Okay, so the Guardian lineup, that was really targeted for people who are looking for a better than stock transmission. They tow heavy. These guys are the workhorses. We named this like mission critical-esque. So the guys that are doing hot shot work, or in the case of a natural disaster, they've got to get generators out there. This is the transmission for them. It isn't a performance transmission, but what it does bring to the table, it fixes all of these standard issues that came with this transmission from the factory. All of our transmissions come with everything you see on the table in front of us here. I'll go more in depth, but they all come with the zero cavitation filter kit. They come with a zero tune valve body, and they come with all of your snap ring retainers along with a billet 2C piston. These are all failures in factory applications. We wanted to go ahead and take care of that from the Guardian all the way up to the Category 4.
So inside the Category Series, talk just a little bit about that as far as the differences between the horsepower levels, not to cut you off there, as you're going up.
Yeah, so Category 1, that is for the guy who just has a basic programmer. They're not doing anything crazy. They got 50, 80 horse on the truck, and they want something that they're going to be able to hot rod on a little bit within reason. That's set up for them. Key benefits of that, it does have an upgraded overdrive drum in the form of a Sonax overdrive drum. Expanded capacity for overdrive, and your 2C is included with that. And then once again, your zero tune valve body. Stepping up into the Category 2, that's where the more performance line comes into play. That Cat 2 is going to get our SunCoast billet Mega Junior V2 drum. I said that all messed up, but the SunCoast V2 drum, it's made in-house here in Fort Walton Beach, Florida. That guy has the most clamping power out of any drum out there in the market that I'm aware of right now. Within that, that's what you need to hold power. It's not just clutch count. You need that clamping force to go and make sure them clutches hold. Yep. Going up to a Category 3, it's the same as a Category 2, but we include a billet input shaft. That is our 750 horsepower rated transmission. It also comes with a billet flex plate in that package.
And Cat 4.
And Cat 4. Cat 4 is, man, I'm going to throw the kitchen sink at this thing. That has the HD overdrive hub, that has the billet input clutch hub, billet input shaft. I mean, that's everything that we can throw into a 68. It's rated at 950.
Yep. So we're going to say your Guardian is stock truck guys, nothing done to the truck. They just want to fix the inherent problems that are 68s.
That's correct.
This is a towing guy using the truck, a workhorse, no performance mods to it. We're getting rid of all of the inherent OE failures that we have. Category 1, guy that's lightly tuned, really nothing else done to that. He's towing as well. We've taken care of the inherent problems. We've upgraded the pump, correct?
Correct.
So we've put some more line pressure to it as well, and you're getting the upgraded valve body in the Cat 1, correct? Go ahead, sir.
And to touch base, everything that I talked about horsepower-wise, we're rating this at the tires, so I know a lot of guys get a little bit confused on that. The Category 1, for instance, we advertise it as good for 450. That's to the tires.
Yeah. And then Cat 2 is kind of, and maybe I'm wrong here, but your Cat 2 is the guy that's a little bit different. He hasn't gone in, he hasn't put injectors in yet. He hasn't done a pump upgrade, but he's got a little hotter tune, and he's towing as well. Those are the guys we're saying maybe teetering on 500, 550.
Yeah.
Cat 2 there.
That's Cat 2 territory for sure.
Yeah.
You know, and the biggest thing, you know, it's a known weak link at that point in time. The input shaft, that's the key difference between the transmission, a Category 2 and a Category 3, is that input shaft. You know, if you're just sticking with stock fuel and stock air, chances are you probably don't need it, depending on your driving style, of course. But that's the cutoff. If you do anything more than that, we really try to get you into a Category 3.
And then Cat 3, like he said, one of the first things I asked him, you know, now with the age of the 68 RFE and the 6.7 motor, more guys are putting light set of injectors in it. They're putting 10 mil pumps on these trucks. They're making an easy 600 horsepower, and they've got a toy hauler. They're romping around on it and all the things. So Montana said that's a Cat 3 truck all day, every day.
All day, every day. And the great thing about it, you can have all that and still get a 3-year warranty with that Cat 3 at 750 horse.
Yep. And Cat 4 is throw a house at it.
Cat 4 is everything I got in my back pocket, short of my firstborn child.
Yeah. So, all right, let's talk about components. He talked through what's in the different series of SunCoast transmissions. Let's talk about the components, and I guess the flagship for you all in 68s is the valve body. So talk through that with us.
Long and short on this, the valve body, it's the zero tune valve body. You guys will see it listed as Ducenti zero tune. What that is a fancy term. This valve body, without any additional tuning to the truck, will make 200 PSI at the clutch drum. Okay, and the way that we're accomplishing that is by using both a valve body and a pump half that's been modded to do so. What this means is you guys that do hot shot work, you guys who maybe don't have the truck tuned, can't tune it, or don't want to tune it, this valve body will still get you that added line pressure that you need for the 68 to live without having to go in there and do any sorts of extra work. Finding a good, reputable transmission tuner these days, it's really hard. So we're trying to take the guesswork out of that and provide you with something out of the box that's going to make the line pressure and hold the power that you're trying to make.
Yeah. Montana, when can you say, here's a catch-22 question, when can you say a customer is able to just throw a valve body at a truck? Now, let's just not say they have a failure. They just want to do something preventive. So they're going to start with the valve body and the pump upgrade. What customer is that, and what do you feel comfortable? Who do you feel comfortable putting that in?
If they're going this far, if they have a fairly low mileage truck or they have a truck that otherwise has a clean bill of health, I would definitely recommend go ahead, pull the transmission out. That's the only caveat to our pump and valve body. The transmission does have to come out. It's a package deal, right? But go ahead and pull it out. At the same time that we're doing the valve body and the pump, let's stuff a good converter. Let's do a Guardian converter. And what that's going to do, as long as the transmission is in good operating order, that's going to prolong it. Yeah. Within the valve body, we're fixing the common issues that they have. The bores wear for the SSV. We're fixing that and changing out the valve to ensure that we no longer have those bore wear issues over time. The guy that just doesn't have a need to go up to a full transmission, his is still working right, let's go ahead and do a pump and valve body. And if he can go ahead and spare a converter, that's a great time to do that. And he's going to love the drivability of it after that converter as well.
Yeah. Now, so we don't talk about this enough. We know the inherent 47, 48 converter failures. 68 converters really were pretty good shape, but as years went by, you all found some other failure modes inside those converters where your suggestions for stock guys to change out, not only for performance and better drivability, but another failure point.
That's right. Everybody's seen a 68 converter. They're stamped metal, just like the 47, 48s were. That doesn't provide a great even apply area on that. Everything inside's cheaply made, so they definitely save some money on that converter. And what we're doing specifically with the Guardian converters is making a better than stock converter, something that is going to stall about the same as a stock converter, maybe a little bit under that, but internally we're really trying to beef it up. And I'm going to use the outdated term of bulletproofing. We're going to try to bulletproof that converter from the inside out. The Guardian comes with a billet cover. Man, is there anything else converter-wise?
That's a good thing. So I'm going to do the valve body. You've taught me into doing converter. I'm 500 horse. Okay. I'm tuned, ready to go. What converter do you like? And you know what? I'll take this one step farther. I'm a drop-in performance charger. You know, I've got a small performance charger on the truck. So I've started my walk through the performance thing with tuning and a drop-in turbo. What do you suggest there on a...
Man, if we're going to talk about a converter, you've already done some turbo upgrades. You know, this truck, depending on what turbo you have, you know, we've got enough fuel to make a clean 550 to the tire. I really would try to recommend you going into a triple disc. And for that, we do have two options. We have the Category 1 triple disc, and then we have the Mac Daddy normal triple disc. That guy has endless stator options. That's the biggest difference between those. The Category 1 still uses our patented piston setup on it. You know, it still is a dampened converter too. A lot of the other converters that are out there that are triple disc and they're a budget-friendly option, those get rid of the dampener and then you get a really harsh lockup.
Yeah.
We don't want that, so even with the Category 1, you still get that dampener in it. But if you guys want something that's going to be super efficient when there is no lockup for towing loads or even, you know, off-the-line performance, you know, that top-of-the-line triple disc is going to be your option for that. But horsepower-wise, the Category 1 converter will still hold the same power that our other triple disc does.
Yeah. All right, so let's... a lot of customers call us and want to ask the question, hey, we've increased line pressure on this transmission. We're seeing increased temperatures here. What are your thoughts on that? How do you combat that? What kind of questions do you ask, and what's kind of a safe range that you're looking for people to tell you about?
So does this customer, is he running SunCoast valve body stuff?
He's running SunCoast valve body. Yeah.
Okay, and that's a great question. So the valve body and pump combo, we went over, it's a tuneless setup. You don't need to do any transmission tuning to it. Within that, I really recommend that they run factory line pressure. They can do whatever they want to for shift points, but run factory line pressure. You know, I'll spit some numbers out here. The valve body is always producing 30% more pressure than what you're reading at the pressure sensor. Okay, so if we're going to go and command 200 psi in the tune, we're trying to make 260 psi. You know, with the pump mods that we have done to it mechanically, it's going to blow off at 215 psi. The math doesn't add up. You know, we're wasting a lot of energy trying to make the pressure we're never going to make. You're going to see higher trans temps. Fluid aeration can also happen in that situation as well. So I always recommend running factory line pressure with our pump and valve body setup. You guys can do whatever else you want to as far as shift strategy goes.
Yes. Okay. So let's talk about what you've got laid out here on the table, because I know you wanted to bring light to that. But one thing that we don't have on the table, and I know that you all have done a huge amount of work in, is the drum on these 68 transmissions. So the drum inside of them, I think you guys might have been, and if I misspeak here, let the other manufacturers, you know, hang me for this, but you all were the first ones to do an updated drum. Is that not correct?
That was pre me even being at SunCoast.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago. That was all the way back into, you know, the original Mega Junior drum, and I forget what date that was. I mean, I might have still been in high school when that came out, but yeah. I believe we were one of the first ones to market with an aftermarket drum. And since then, man, we've had countless revisions. I think a total of 5 drums throughout the past, 10 years of SunCoast. The latest one that we have, and that's something you'll always hear, the latest is the greatest, but this latest one really has corrected all of the issues, not only with the 68s, but any issues that, we had on a developmental side trying to come out with a different drum. It's been a long road to get here, but this one definitely knocked it out of the park.
Yeah. So is the drum, the necessity for the drum development, is that kind of like, so we know the failure in the valve bodies is heat, deflection in the valve bodies, cross leaks, miss shifts, all the things. Same thing in the drum, deflection, warpage in there, no, not correct applies.
Correct. That's a very good point. The sealing of the drum. Anytime you're bypassing fluid, think about any hydraulic system out there. You lose your holding ability anytime that fluid's bypassing. So that's one of the main things we tried to target from the get-go, was how do we make this drum not flex? How do we keep as much oil behind the piston as possible? And, like I said, through 5 revisions now, this last one has a killer setup. Very, very little flex on it. And the sealing services that we have, it's unlike any other drum out there on the market right now.
Yeah. Well, show us some of the other goodies that we got out on the table here. This is all 68 stuff as well, guys, that he's going to talk to you about.
That's right. We'll start from left to right. I think our cameraman's going to come in for a close-up here.
He's coming.
Yep.
There he is.
Everything that's on the table here in front of us, these are standard in SunCoast 68s. And a lot of people ask, man, why is the Guardian 68 more than like a Guardian 6R140? Well, flat out, there were so many issues from the factory, we had to correct those before we could ever expand upon that. So starting off, this is our billet 2C piston. This does a couple things for us. Number one, our apply area is a lot wider. We're about, I think it's 15 times wider apply area than the factory piston, and it's also shorter. What that allows us to do is add an additional clutch to your 2C pack. 2C is used for second gear and sixth gear, so it's a pretty important gear to have expanded capacity in. This is probably the single biggest recent development from us, and what this is, it's a snap ring retainer. Those of you that have bought SunCoast products, you're probably pretty familiar with snap ring retainers. This one has prevented, I don't know how many warranties from coming back. We can do everything to a 68, but there's so many snap rings inside of it. This particular snap ring retainer is designed to encapsulate the snap ring that holds together your input clutch drum, your inner drum, and your outer drum. So all three of those pieces are held in with one snap ring. That guy, over time, it will flex, it will work its way out, and when that happens, your drum typically will make contact with the center support and cause a mechanical trans brake. So this little guy right here has solved so many issues. Not only for us, this video is actually one of the first ones that is coming out where we're actually showing this. We've had it in our transmissions for the better part of a year now and haven't came to market with it, just waiting on some patent things to come back. But now that they're clear, I'm really happy to be able to showcase it with you guys. Moving along, this is another snap ring retainer. This one encapsulates the snap ring that goes on top of your underdrive balance piston. That was another weak link in this unit. That one was always blown out. Moving along, Wade, have you ever seen a 68 apart?
I have.
Okay, so do you remember there's a plastic thrust washer in the 68, and what it's used for is fixing, that's how you set your in plane unit.
Yep.
More often than not, a high mileage unit that has a lot of heat cycles, that fiber washer is typically broken, or in some extreme cases, I've seen it more or less melted. We opted to go with a 6061 billet thrust washer in all of our transmissions. And then last but not least, as far as the small parts go, that's your 4C snap ring retainer. Same premise behind everything else. There was a need for it. These things were blowing out left and right. That was a very simple fix for it. And anytime that we can fix something that's doing two things for us. Number one, that's keeping you on the road longer. And number two, that's less of a comeback on us. Our reputation holds up a lot better when things don't come back. Warranties are great. I like them better when I don't have to use them. And moving on, this is something that anybody can buy. It doesn't have to be ran with a pump or valve body. This can go on your factory truck. But that is our zero cavitation filter setup. Reason behind it goes back to a bad batch of OEM filters that we got. The OEM filter, if you recall, it has a little silicone plug in the top side. And we were getting warranties back left and right where that plug had came out, and the transmission was burnt down. It was sucking air, it was losing line pressure. So the end-all be-all for was go back in time to the dinosaur days and grab a torque flight style filter and figure out how to adapt that into this transmission. We're moving the filter lower, we're getting fluid off the bottom, the coolest part of the pan, and it's fully, I don't recommend this, but I've had guys tell me, hey, look, man, we messed up. We were almost a gallon low on fluid, and this thing still ran with your filter setup in there. So it really lowers the filter. It sucks the coolest oil from the bottom of it.
I've never understood trans filter placements as a whole.
Really?
I mean, I'm sure there's a technical reason for the why they've always put them on. I've never understood why they didn't put them on. But if material in the bottom of the pan too, you know what I mean? If you have a failure, that's going to be the first one you get.
And that particular one that we set everybody up with, that's a higher flow torque flight style filter. So it matches. If you guys do have valve body mods that are done to it, you're commanding 200 PSI line pressure, or have our zero tune valve body kit, that filter definitely flows enough to feed the pump.
Yeah, and that gets rid of that awful grommet O-ring that is in the pump body that's damn near impossible to get out. But when you get a filter, you get it, you want to change it, and this makes that a whole lot
It makes it a whole lot easier.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, and then will this retain use, this obviously will retain use of the factory spin-on filter?
Thank you for asking that. We didn't talk about spin-ons. I will go in depth on that a little bit here. At SunCoast, we only run OEM spin-on filters. There's a reason for that. A lot of the aftermarket filters lack the anti-drain back feature, and what that means is you guys may go and park your truck for a couple of days, hop back in, fire it up. The truck doesn't want to move. Well, everything is drained back. Now we got to refill the system. But yeah, everything, even our kits from SunCoast include that OEM filter. But yes, you would run that spin-on in conjunction with this filter kit.
Yeah, yeah, very cool, very cool. Well, this whole thing has kind of been shoot from the hip. You know, we kind of put Montana on the spot. What are we going to do? He came in. He was like, "Hey, let's get a plan together." I was like, "No, man, we're shooting from the hip," and he did a good job with that. So, you know, still your all's #1 selling transmission right now, 68s as a whole.
68s as a whole, probably for everybody, will always be the #1 seller. You know, as hard as I go and campaign the 10-speed,
Yeah.
there's just not that many out there on the road right now. 68s, let's face it, you know, the Cummins is the workhorse of a lot of hotshot guys. The transmission's terrible. We're doing the best that we can to make them live, but 68s will always be king as far as sales go.
I know the Asen guys are watching this, and they're in the back of the class with their hands up. And I know this has been a thing for SunCoast. So talk to me about Asens. Are we doing anything on Asen development? What are we suggesting there?
Long and short of it, you know,
You're always looking to develop.
we are always looking to develop. When things land in our lap, you know, we go and attack it head on. The eyes and stuff, man, it's just, there's so many other things on our plate right now. I can't give it the attention that it really deserves right now.
But it's inherently a good transmission.
It really is a good transmission. You know, within that, we do sell rebuild kits. We do have a converter for it. But as far as a full, complete trans, I don't have it. I don't have it forecasted to come onto the line.
Yeah.
You know, maybe some pushing on your part.
Hey,
I don't know, but
because I speak Kentucky, I call it an Asen. But I mean, honestly, the 68 RFE, and I haven't heard you say this, but I've heard some of your other counterparts say that this is basically a glorified Jeep Grand Cherokee transmission.
it even predates that. If we go all the way back, was it A804? Anyways, there's a minivan that had a very, very similar transmission.
Yeah.
And it was a front wheel drive. So they rearranged the guts in it. You know, they enhanced it 20, 30% and said, okay, this will work behind a diesel.
Yeah.
And in fact, it does not.
Yeah. Honestly, I mean, this might be a really stupid statement I made, but there's been a lot of things that you've had to change as far as development based on fluid dynamics and thermal dynamics as a whole with this transmission. Controlling heat, controlling pressure has been the key to all of it.
right.
You know, it's been a whole lot less mechanical. It's been a whole lot more knowledge and fluid knowledge. So, you know, that 68s as a whole, you know, what the main thing with this was is we wanted to explain to customers what SunCoast does in their 68 program, what's the right 68 for you. Right. Montana is also going to do another video following up to this. We're going to talk about some common failure points on the 68 RFE. What does he look for in that if somebody calls a shop and they've got a question?
Proper diagnosis. You know, we love selling you guys stuff, but I don't want to sell you something you don't need necessarily.
Yeah. Yep. And you learning more about the transmission is just going to make you a better customer of ours. So we learn and grow together. So Montana, thanks, sir. Appreciate it. If you've got any questions about 68 RFEs, give us a call. Got any questions about any SunCoast products, call us for those too.
Can we consider this Diesel University? Are we bringing that back?
This is the Diesel University.
Okay, good deal.
He's holding my hand. I felt a little awkward, but it's cool too because he's got a nice grip. Thanks, guys.